the mantra Om for 1 time, followed by Shanti for 3 times. Inhale. Om. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Gently bow your head down, bring yourself to the class, prepare yourself for the session. When you're ready, gently head up, open your eyes, external eyes. Namaste. We will chant the Mangala Charan, Yes Tyaktva. All of you will chant. You can see and chant also. Or after me. Yes Tyaktva Rupamadyam Prabhavati Jagato. Anekadhanugrahaya Prakshina Kleshara Shira Vishama Vishadharo Anekavaktraha Subhogi Sarvajnana Prasutir Bhujagaparikaraha
Bhujagaraparigrahakaram
Nitaye Yasya Nityam
Pritaye yasya nityam
Devo Hishaha
Devo hishaha
Savovyat
Savyo vyat
Sita Vimalatanur Yogado Yoga Yuktaha
Sita vimalatanu Yogada yoga yuktaha
Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. With the blessing,
Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
we begin today's session. Simply open your eyes. We were on Sutra 2. Let's chant Sutra 1 and 2 together. Atha Yoganushasanam
Atha yoganusasanam
Atha Yoganushasanam
Atha yoganusasanam
Second one. Yogaschitta Vritti Nirodhaha
yogaschitta
Yogaschitta Vritti Nirodhaha
yogachitta vritti nirodhaha.
Yes, we will begin. Are you able to view the screen?
No.
Just
No.
Are you able to view the screen now?
Yes.
Okay. I will just be reading the commentary of the second sutra completely in Sanskritam. Sarva Shabda Grahanat Sampragyatopi Yoga Ityakhyate. Chittam hi prakhyata pravrutti sthitishilатват trigunam. In the last class, we talked about Sampragyat, Asampragyat, Samadhi. Sampragyat is with a seed, with an object of meditation. Asampragyat is without the object of meditation. We also said Prakhya Pravritti. So the vrittis which are in the chitta are based on the trigunas. We talked about Sankhya philosophy and we said they are tamasic, rajasic and sattvic. We will see what this further says. Prakhya rupam hi chitta sattvam rajastoma sansrushtam aishwaryam vishayapriyam bhavati. Tadaiva tamasanu viddham adharma jnanam aishwaragyam अनैश्वरयोरपगम भवति. तदेव प्रक्षीण मोहावरण सर्वतः प्रद्योतमानं वृद्धम राजो मात्राय धर्म ज्ञान वैराग्य ऐश्वर्योपंगम भवति. तदेव राजोलेशमलोपेतं स्वरूप प्रतिष्ठं सत्व पुरुषान्त्याख्याति मात्रं धर्म मेघ ध्यानोपंगम भवति. ततः परम प्रसंख्यानमित्याचक्षते ध्यानिनः. चित्त शक्तिर्परिणामिन्य प्रतिसंक्रमा दर्शित विषया शुद्धा चानन्ता च सत्व गुणात्मिका चेयमतो विपरीता विवेक ख्यातिरिति. अतस्तास्यां वितरिक्त चित्तं तामपि ख्यातिं निरूणद्ध तदवस्थं संस्कारोपगम भवति. स निर्बीजः समाधि न तत्र किंचित संप्रज्ञात इत्यसंप्रज्ञातः. द्विविधः स योगश्चित्त वृत्ति निरोधः इति. So this is the complete second sutra explanation. So what is this verse saying, this sutra? Let's see. Sage Patanjali says yogas chitta vritti nirodha, but never said sarva chitta vritti nirodha. Said yogas chitta vritti nirodha, means chitta vrittis, whatever are the vrittis in the chitta, they would be in niruddha avastha. But sarva means all vrittis was not mentioned. So which is that one vritti which was left aside? We talked about chitta bhumis in the last session. What are chitta bhumis? Stages of the mind field. We talked about shikta, which is always wandering. Then we talked about muda, the dull mind. Vikshipta, the occasionally steady. Ekagra, the one which is able to concentrate. And finally, niruddha, which can attain samadhi. So the fifth vritti, attainment of samadhi, is still there. Therefore, sarva chitta vritti nirodha was not said. The lesser vritti is to be removed, but the natural tendency of the mind to be on one object at one time should continue with oneness in the object. For example, our feet are trained to walk straight. Do we walk in different ways in different directions at the same time? No. At one time, in one direction. At one time, we see one object. At one time, we can only hold one thing with our hands. So this oneness is what the mind is accustomed to. This oneness is what its natural state is. So when we are externally doing things, internally that oneness is not there. There are so many thoughts. So yoga's chitta vritti nirodha is removal of these thoughts. How? By abhyasa, constant practice of stillness. And how would we do that? Like we do not allow anybody to enter the home. This mind field is also what? Our home. Like we protect our privacy, like we want to keep, things which are very, very safe. We want to allow only few people to enter the home. Similarly is for the mind. Like the gatekeeper, we must be very mindful of what are the present guests or present vrittis in the mind. How would you feel if guests overstay at the home? Especially guests who are not favorable to you. What will they cause? Disharmony all the times. So these vrittis are like those guests. Why do I say they are like guests? Because it's not your inherent nature. They're constantly from the outside. At one time, only one vritti is seen. Yes. So pancha vritti. What are these vrittis? We are going to see today. We are going to talk about this. Those who have already studied in 300 hours, you would know there is pramana, viparyaya, vikalpa, nidra, and smriti. What are the vrittis? Pramana or knowledge. What kind of knowledge? The knowledge which is required for the mind, the knowledge which holds proof of objects. So panchavritti are pramana, viparyaya, vikalpa, nidra, and smriti. These are the panchavrittis. First is pramana, proof of valid knowledge. Pramana, pramana. This pramana or knowledge is in three types. First is direct experience. How do we gain the knowledge or information about an object? Through direct experience. This is known as pratyaksha pramana. Technical term is pratyaksha pramana. You can simply write direct experience. Second is inference, which means if you see the fire directly, you would call it pratyaksha pramana. But if you see the smoke arising from the hill, you will have the knowledge of the fire there in the forest. This is known as inference. So our mind is full of this vritti, where we only see a part and the rest is comprehended by us. This is known as what? Anumana pramana. Pratyaksha pramana is direct experience. Anumana or inferred knowledge. Anumana pramana. Inferred proof. And third is Shabda pramana. Verbal testimony. Verbal testimony. So we have knowledge from our direct experience with the world or partial experience that helps us comprehend, or verbal testimony, the words of a trusted person. We have neither experienced the object directly nor a part of it, but we entrust somebody. We entrust them with the knowledge they are to provide to us. So the words which they say become testimony for us. These are pramana or valid proofs of knowledge. This is the first vritti. So what happens in our mind? There is knowledge. And this knowledge is also further categorized into verbal testimony, inference, and direct experience. The second vritti is viparyaya. Viparyaya, wrong knowledge. Viparyaya or wrong knowledge. What does wrong knowledge mean? A very popular drishtanta or example. I'm walking on the street in darkness. I think there is a snake in front of me, so I freeze where I am. The fear of the snake is realized in my body. The next minute, a car passes by, throws light on it, and I realize it's a rope. So the similarity between two objects and incomplete knowledge of the both gives rise to viparyaya or false knowledge. False knowledge is the second vritti. We are studying yoga's chitta vritti nirodha, and to understand chitta vritti, we understood what is chitta first, what are the states of chitta, and now we are understanding what are the vrittis. So first was pramana, proof of knowledge or knowledge with us, and second was viparyaya, false knowledge, incomplete knowledge. We also hold false knowledge about objects. Maybe we know somebody, even if it's a person, we meet somebody who had similar characteristics or same kind of nature, similar way of responding. And without having the complete knowledge of the person who is in front of us, we already act with them with our preconceived notions about them, with this familiar experience we have had before. And it has nothing to do in reality with the person. False knowledge. Pranti darshana, false knowledge. This is the second vritti, false knowledge, or viparyaya. Third vritti that rises up in this mind field is known as vikalpa. Vikalpa. Vikalpa is imagination. Vikalpa. Vikalpa. Imagination. Vikalpa or imagination. So I see a cow grazing. Yes, too many cows grazing. Just observing the cow, I feel like buying the cow, having my own dairy. I already think of selling the milk or making curd out of it and how I will manufacture. So what is this? In reality, I'm only seeing the cow. But the imagination. And then somebody comes and says, that you cannot have this cow, or she's already been purchased in the market. So what happens? My dreams about selling the curd get shattered. In reality, there was no curd, there was no dairy, there was no milk. I only saw the cow. So the tendency of the mind to build up on one object as per our desires. So if I am a person who's having artha on my mind, tendency of money, I will feel like encashing whatever I get from the cow. If I'm a person who has a tendency of dharma, I will feel like feeding the cow. So depending on what the vasanas are, what the desires are within us, we act in accordance when the object meets us. So object is same. Every person is going to have a different tendencies, and when this object comes up, the tendencies within us will. So this is vikalpa, imagination. Dreamy state of the mind. Fourth is nidra, tendency to sleep, rest. This is purely tamas-induced tendency, tamasic tendency. What happens? What happens to the chitta during this time? Whatever vrittis are there, they become sukshma or subtle. Vrittis become what? Subtle. They are very much present in the chitta. They have not gone anywhere. But since the senses have been internalized, there is no way for them to express themselves. This is nidra avastha of the chitta. induced with tamas, restful, slow, unable to comprehend or cognize anything. And the last is smritihi or memory. What happens in the chitta or the mind field? Mind wants to recreate the experience of an object it has come in contact. This is known as smriti or memory. So first pramana, second viparyaya. Pramana is proof of knowledge through direct experience, inference and verbal testimony. Second is viparyaya, false knowledge. Third is vikalpa, imagination. Fourth is nidra, sleep. And fifth is smriti or memory. So, chitta vritti nirodha, to remove the vrittis, we must at least know what are the vrittis. What are the vrittis? Yoga talks about samadhi pada first. Why samadhi pada was put first? It was for the highest level of seeker, known as uttama adhikari. So the moment the seeker only studies samadhi pada also is liberated because it's free from vrittis and does not have to go through the entire text, does not have to waste time in studying further. So first was samadhi pada for the highest level of seeker. Uttama adhikari. There are 3 levels of seeker. First, highest is known as uttama adhikari. Uttama. Uttama is best, best student, best recipient of knowledge. Uttama adhikari usually has ekagra or nirudha avastha. Ekagra or nirudha avastha. Concentrated or in the state of samadhi. Second is madhyama adhikari. What does the madhyama adhikari or the medium level practitioner hold? Consistency. So the highest seeker has concentration. The second level of seeker has consistency. Concentration may or may not be there in the beginning, can be developed gradually, but the best thing is consistency. No matter what, this seeker is able to devote time for the studies. So consistency is the strongest quality of the second kind of seeker, known as madhyamadhikari. And the third kind of seeker, known as a mudha adhikari or manda adhikari, like us, has what? Willingness to study. Has willingness to study. So, willingness to study, lowest level of seeker. Consistency, second level of seeker. Willingness plus consistency plus concentration, the third level of seeker, the highest, known as uttama. So the highest seeker, uttama adhikari, will study yoga chitta vritti nirodha and will have the capacity to immediately start removing the vrittis. Will immediately have the capacity to remove these vrittis. And how will these vrittis removed? What is the way of removing the vrittis? Abhyasa and vairagya, dispassion or detachment, and abhyasa, effort. Constant effort and detachment. dispassion towards worldly objects. Effort in what? Stillness. And this stillness is also at 3 levels. So the practice of yoga asanas help in the stillness of the body. The practice of pranayam helps in the stillness of the mind. Practice of yoga asanas help in stillness of the body. Practice of pranayam helps in stillness of the, and meditation, control over your complete mind field, chitta bhumi. Stillness of the chitta. So with pranayam, mind will not move towards external objects. And with meditation, the existing vrittis will also be exhausted. So this stillness at 3 levels. With asana for the body. With pranayam, immediately there is stillness of thoughts you will experience. Thoughts reduce. And meditation of the entire chitta. What is chitta? Mahat, ahamkara and manas. Who is the master of this manas or mind? Ahamkara. And who's the master of ahamkara? Mahat, cosmic intelligence. Master of the mind, where? Ego. Ahamkara. So the tendency of the chitta is to throw light. The tendency of the chitta is what? Simply to throw light. The mind will throw light onto every object you come in contact. It is said the chitta is balashali. How is the chitta? Balashali. It has immense strength. So yoga is a study for what? Strength. Strength of what? Balam of the chitta, of the mind. Strength of the mind. Strength of the emotions. Strength of the body. The practice of yoga makes one balashali. Chitta bala. The strength of the chitta increases. We simply call it a mental strength. Sometimes, yes. There is a lot of resilience. There is a lot of mental strength. So, I have written a note here in my text which says, if problem is within you, solution of the problem is also within you. In my copy, I've written here a line in the end. It says, if problem is within you, solution to that problem is also within you. And how does this chitta becomes balashali? How to increase the strength of the chitta? With knowledge. The moment mind comes in contact with an object, if there is correct knowledge, the mind will not accept the object, the mind will reject that object. Presently, there is no filter. Any object we come in contact with, we want to understand. We want to know more about it. But when the chitta becomes strong with knowledge, what happens? The quality of rejection is induced. Presently, we have the quality of attachment or acceptance. Knowledge brings the quality of rejection. And the more rejection is there with the objects, the more safe this house is, which is Chitta. Which means you're not allowing everybody to come inside the house and stay. You've become very, very mindful. The quality of rejection is naturally. So yoga's chitta vritti nirodha is chitta, the avasthas of chitta, and in those states of chitta, whatever vrittis are there, for them to dissolve is yoga's chitta vritti nirodha. Take a minute to connect with this and we progress. I will be chanting 2-3 verses regarding yoga and Sankhya in different texts. Shanti Parva says, Nasti Sankhya Samjnanam, Nasti Yoga Samam Balam. It says there is no knowledge like Sankhya and no strength like yoga. There is no knowledge like Sankhya. If you know these 25 elements, you know everything. Nasti Sankhya Samam Jnanam, Nasti Yoga Samam Balam. And one more from Vishnu Purana. Vishnipanna Samadhistu Muktim Tatraiva Janmani Prapnoti Yogi Yogani Dagdha Karma Chayocharya. This verse from Vishnu Purana, one of the texts, says the person who is able to attain samadhi in this life is able to definitely attain liberation. The one who has attained samadhi, equanimity of mind, will definitely attain liberation in the same. So I'm also bringing about different texts and what they have to say with this sutra. Let's see. We'll see Yajnavalkya Smriti. It says, Ayanto parmo dharmo yada yoganatma darshanam, which means one who knows himself or herself through yoga has the best knowledge of oneself. So this verse says what? This verse says that we are like light. Purusha is like the light. Chitta is like the mirror. So there is light which falls into the mirror, but the mirror is how? It's little bit tilted. The mirror is tilted. So with that light, other objects of the world are seen in the mirror. If you slightly bring the mirror back to its original position, the light will be reflected. I will repeat this again. Yajnavalkya Samhita says, the chitta is like the mirror, Purusha is the light. Purusha throws light on the chitta, which is slightly tilted and reflects other objects of the world. Like you can see impressions in the mirror. If this mirror or chitta is aligned, it becomes steady. There is stillness in it. What will happen? The light of the Purusha would be seen. There will be direct understanding of Purusha. And how can we say that there is presence of Purusha? There is awareness with everything we do. Don't we say, my mood is not so good today? Who's saying this? Mood is not so good. Who's saying this? My mood is not so good today. Who is able to observe the state of mind? who is able to observe the presence of ego or ahamkara. And therefore, my mood is not good. I'm not in the right state of mind. Who's the observer of this state of mind? So, understanding this at the very subtle level, having this power, palam, through yoga is the goal. So, chitta vritti nirodha, which is the second sutra, says yoga is removal of these vrittis in the chitta. For what? The third sutra, which says tada drashtuhu swarupe avasthan. Like the mirror comes back into its original position, tada means then, drashtuhu, the seer, swarupe, self, avasthanam will be established in the self. Will know that I am the one who is the. So this beautiful quality that we already have of observing ourselves when we are not in the good state of mind should be there also when we are enjoying it. That is your spiritual. When you're enjoying, when you're in bhogata bhava, the thought of enjoyment, observation is. I've written 2 more notes here. Ucha Adhikari, the highest level seeker, says, Daya papasya moolam. And Daya dharmasya moolam, says Nicha Adhikari. Means people like us will say what? Daya or compassion, dharmasya moolam. The religion must be based on compassion. And the highest seeker says what? Dharma must be based on dispassion. So compassion and dispassion, are you able to observe this difference? The highest level of seeker says dispassion must be observed. And the lowest level of seeker, like us, says compassion must be observed. So does it mean compassion is wrong? No. It means compassion is not able to teach us anything. But dispassion will be able to separate us from the object and observe the object as it is. If there is compassion, there will be a lot of thoughts in between you and the. So I've written here, Daya papasya moolam, Uchadhikari, Daya dharmasya moolam, Nicha, or mantra. If you have any questions about this sutra, you can ask. There were then, or we can take the questions we had discussed in the group. Yes. The first question was, Sage Patanjali was asked by the students, just like us. And also, Purva Paksha. Who's Purva Paksha? Or we can say heterodox philosophies. They were saying, how do you know there are vrittis? How can you guarantee and say that there are vrittis? Which are the heterodox sects? Buddhism, Jainism, and Charvaka. So they say, object bring the vrittis with themselves. Yoga says, vrittis are in the person themselves. What does the heterodox say? Object brings the vritti with themselves. And orthodox philosophies, especially yoga philosophy, says, vrittis are in the person. And what is the reasoning they give for this? Like you see, every object in the world, it has some root. Tree, fruits will have also a root beneath. If the seed is not good, the fruit is also not going to be good. Like you see the mountain in the ocean, it's simply a part of the mountain. Rest half is under the water. Like you see the iceberg, what you see below that also there is the base of it. Like you look at the earth, within it also there are lot many things that give rise to the things on the surface. Similarly, a person's behavior, a person's conduct, a person's desires are based of these vrittis which are stored in the chitta. They're stored for births and births. So naturally you will see children to children are also different in childhood. Children to children are also extremely different without any knowledge. This is the answer to the first question. So what is the effect that we are seeing? There is a cause to that. And this cause is individual. Every person has vrittis which are individual, and the cause of happiness and suffering are based on those vrittis. Vrittis are individual. Therefore, one object may bring happiness to one, for the other it may be. Depending on the vrittis, which vrittis? Pramana, Viparyaya, Vikalpa Nidra and Smriti. So understanding of which vritti governs me, what is the direction of this vritti itself is the beginning of your spiritual practice. Which was the second question? What was the second question? Do you recall? I think I have shared it with us.
Yes, what is the need of Purusha if Chitta can throw on the Vrittis?
Yes. Yes. So Buddhism, Jainism, the heterodox philosophy says, if your Chitta is balashali, if the Chitta is so powerful, it has the vrittis, it can remove the fluctuations. What is the need of Purusha in your philosophy? Why are you saying that there is some reality known as Purusha? So yoga philosophy says Chitta is also part of Prakriti, and Chitta receives that light from Purusha like the moon receives the light from the sun. So like the moon receives the light from the sun and that light is reflected, similarly the light of the Chitta, the awareness, is the light of. So what happens? It is said in Darshana, Darshanik Bhasha, or in philosophy, that when it is the full moon, the sun is in the state of samadhi, externalized, is in the state of samadhi, sampragyat samadhi. With whom sampragyat samadhi? For the sun. Light is where? Being thrown on the moon. When it is amavasya, no moon, it is nirbija samadhi or asampragyat samadhi for the sun, where the rays again go back. The sun becomes eternal. So yoga philosophy similarly says that Chitta is a part of Prakriti. It is gross in nature. There is no understanding of Chitta if there is no awareness or consciousness, Purusha. Without consciousness, mind field will also not have light in its own. So the light which comes into the Chitta is borrowed from the Purusha. The tendencies. Who is observing that I am having these tendencies? If tendencies are in the Chitta, who is this observer? Purusha. This awareness itself is Purusha. Awareness, object, knowledge in the Chitta, and awareness which connects the both, object and the knowledge. is. And the last question. When do I experience the seer or Purusha? It is after the Chitta Vritti Nirodha, removal of these fluctuations. For removal, understanding these fluctuations and slowly minimizing them. How? Asana, body stillness, pranayama, mental stillness. These were the questions and few mentions we saw regarding the second sutra. If you may have any questions, we can take those at this time. If you can switch on your cameras, would be nice for me to. Patanjali's Yoga Sutra look heavy? Very heavy?
I have a question.
Little bit,
You have
yeah.
Yes. It's new knowledge. For a while, it will seem to be little heavy. Yes, but you have to do abhyasa. Attending this session itself is your sadhana. Just listen. Again, listen. That's all you're required to do. You're not required to memorize anything. Just listen. That's all. Sanskrit is heavy? Yes. Therefore, I am reading it. You will not be. Yes, I'm reading it for all of us and translating it. Miracle. Yes, Shailaji, you had a question?
So where does buddhi come then?
Mahat buddhi.
Mahat.
So out of
Mahat
the
is
total
buddhi.
intelligence, we can say individual intelligence is ahamkara or the ego. But intelligence is there. So from ahamkara to mahat
Okay.
is the journey, cosmic intelligence, understanding everything. We said the chitta is all the three together, right? Manas, ahamkara and mahat. This is the mind field. This is where the subtle awareness that you have is there. So we have the mind, we know the mind is there, but we have never experienced, we have not seen the mind. We know ego is there, but we have not seen it, unlike other objects. So this awareness from tamasic, which are 5 elements, to subtle, whose presence we know is there, going beyond that is the practice of yoga. De-evolution, go back. Because it's there, we know ego, I act out of lot of self-importance or ego. We understand this. Can we see it? Mind, we understand it. But there is no complete knowledge, no complete awareness in it. So with the study of yoga, we have complete awareness. Rohitji also had a question.
Yes. Can you please explain the interaction between the various chitta bhumis and the vrittis? Different chitta bhumis are there, my states of mind. Suppose I am in the vikshipt avastha. The chitta is in the vikshipt avastha. What kind of vrittis will arise compared to some other avastha?
Okay, yes. So you can connect this if you are in first Shipta avastha. Shipta is constantly wandering mind. So what happens here? Vikalpa and viparyaya. Vikalpa and viparyaya. False knowledge and imagination governs the mind. The second chitta bhumi is mudha.
Mood.
Here nidra rules. The vritti of nidra is more dominant. Sometimes smriti also. Smriti and nidra, more taps. Then we have a vikshipta, occasionally steady. Here we have verbal testimony out of the pramanas. So pramanas are there, but verbal testimony is strong. And smriti is also, memory is also. Then we have ekagra, the concentrated, focused mind, which has more of inference. A bit needs to be studied, the entire is taken care. And direct experience. So all the pramana, viparyaya is absent, simply the absence of others, and only having pramana itself is ekagrata. Only pramana or knowledge remains. All other vrittis of nidra, smriti, viparyaya, vikalpa, that's imagination, all of them become very, very less. Only vritti of knowledge remains, ekagra. And then finally we have niruddha avastha, which is cessation of all these. Understanding what is the container, not what it contains. And how will we know what is the container? After the contents have been emptied, we will know exactly what it is. Right now, if there is pink colored juice in the glass, we are looking at that pink colored juice. We are not paying attention to the glass which is holding. So removal of these vrittis will draw our attention to what is holding, what is that field, which is attracting. Is it magnetic? Every time it's attracting some object. That's also a question. What brings this akarshanam, this attraction between me and objects? It is said that there are vasanas or desires to be exhausted before liberation. So there are so many objects in the world. Not every object attracts you. Only the one which is going to free you from the karmic transaction, will help you exhaust the karmas, is going to be the one with whom you hold a transaction. I hope you are able to have clarity on.
Yes.
So we will have to be just patient for a while. This is Samadhi Pada. Yes, like I mentioned, it's for Ekagra and Niruddha Avastha. As we progress in next 2-3 sessions, you'll start enjoying the class. It will seem more lighter. So just have patience. It took me 6 months. I did not understand anything for 6 months when I was in front of my guru. I was an absolute fool sitting there, but I was there on time. That's all, because that I knew I can do this. Rest, I don't know what to do. So if I felt the most foolish, and I absolutely felt I was moodha than the moodha, dumb and dull than the usual dumb people, was that time. So it took me 6 months, not for Yoga Sutra, of course, but for Samskrita. But I will ensure for us, more than 10 classes should be enough for us, for the mind to have that tendency, okay, I'm learning this, for the neurological structure of the mind to change. So we meet tomorrow, complete the Sutra 3, 4, and 5. We will conclude today's session. Bring your palms together at the heart center. We will chant the mantra Purnamada. Om Vedam Purna Purnasya
Purnamadaaya
Purna
Purnamudachyate
Om
Shanti
Shanti Shanti. Gently bow your head down. Feel grateful for this learning, for this day. Thank all your gurus, your teachers, Sage Patanjali. Seek for his blessings as you progress on the path of yoga, path of equanimity of the mind. When you're ready, gently lift your head up, open your eyes, externalize. Namaste. Thank you very much for joining me in the sadhana. We meet again tomorrow. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Hari Om.
Shishiji.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.